that's when it like really clicked me. Like the weirdest part of that story wasn't the whatever face I saw, it was the fact that no one knew who that kid was. There's no explanation. It's like that dude never existed. She asked, "What do you want?" and it spelled out death on the Ouija board. So at that point, we were like, yeah, it's probably a good time to pack it up. Apparently, I didn't know this, but there's a certain way you have to like cut off the connection with the Ouija board. I think that could be like maybe why it attached itself.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode 61 of Your Ghost Stories podcast. I'm sure you'll be delighted to hear we have another guest joining us this week, so without further delay, I'd like to give a big warm welcome to today's guest.
Your Ghost Stories. Your Ghost Stories.
So welcome to Your Ghost Stories, Jared. You reached out to me a few weeks back after hearing our episode on real life ghost stories, which is hosted by Emma. That came out a few months back, and you mentioned in your email to me, without giving too much away, that you have a ghost or a demon that has been following you for pretty much all of your life. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We got some stories for you today.
Man, well, I'm itching to know more, as I'm sure is everyone listening. But before we get into this, please tell us a little bit about yourself and where you grew up.
All right, well, hello, everybody. Thanks for having me on the podcast. I sure do appreciate it. This is actually the first podcast that I've gone on besides like my own. So this is pretty cool. A little nervous, even though I'm kind of in the game a little bit, but we got it. We'll get it handled. But I'm Jared. I live in Texas in the USA. So I've kind of moved all over the place. I do have my own podcast. It's me and my wife. We sit down and the goal is to record with somebody every week. But as I'm sure you're very aware, it's pretty difficult sometimes to get somebody on and scheduling conflicts and all this and that. But so when we can't get somebody on, we just go over topics like trending stuff. I'm big into conspiracy theories, so I like to bring that to the show and see if we can get some interesting stuff talked about. Other than that, I mean, I'm a big nerd. Star Wars, Harry Potter, Marvel, DC, all that kind of stuff. I can talk about it for hours. Big, obviously, just in case anybody couldn't tell, I'm into the paranormal. Got plenty of stuff to talk about there. So I'm really excited to get going. And Emma loved that show or that podcast. Awesome. She does a great job over there.
Yeah, she's certainly a big influence on on this show as well. You know, I listened to her before I started this up a couple of years ago, and yeah, she's a huge influence and she's amazing at what she does, and she's a big part of this community. So what's your podcast called, dude, and where can people find it?
So our podcast is called the Spectacularly Average Podcast. We're on Spotify. I'm not 100% sure what other places we're on. I know in the Spotify for Podcasters app, it says it streams on other platforms. So I've just been telling everybody to wherever you get your podcasts. So I hope I'm not lying to anybody, but definitely Spotify for sure. We do have an Instagram, Twitter, and a TikTok. We're still fairly new. We're still working with super cheap equipment. So my dinosaur of a computer. So if people do tune in and give us a listen, then go easy on us.
I'm excited to check it out, man, and I'd encourage everyone listening to this to go and do the same. If you send me some links, Jared, I'll put them in the description of this show and people can go and check them out there.
Absolutely. Also, fun fact, Emma's podcast, Real Life Ghost Stories, that was a huge inspiration for me actually wanting to start a podcast. So that's obviously, you take stuff from a little bit from everybody, but listening to her and Dan, it just really, I don't know, it just really kind of like, oh, I can talk to people. Why can't I? Give it a shot. Not as good as her, but maybe we'll get there.
Have you reached out to Emma before? Because I was in similar position to you, man. Like, I'd only just started our podcast, and I'd reached out to her and just asked if she'd be a guest on our show, and she was very, very open. And yeah, she came and joined us and was awesome about it. So yeah, I'd recommend doing that. So, dude, we have to dive into this ghost demon situation. Where did it all start for you?
So it all started when I was about somewhere around 12, around that age. Whatever year Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire came out. I had a friend who had I think it was a Nintendo DS, something like that, whatever the Nintendo system was at the time, but he had two of them and he had two of the Harry Potter games. So we were hanging out at my grandma and grandpa's playing with it. You know, we had sodas, we had popcorn, all the late night snacks, and we planned on playing all night. Well, I was sitting by a window and I hear a knock on the window. And so, you know, obviously you look at the window and there's just this pale face. It's almost shaped like the ghost face mask, kind of. It's ghost face-esque. And then it had really sharp teeth, and then it had a super long tongue like Venom or like Gene Simmons. And at first I just thought it was somebody like messing with us or something. And I see kind of like a reflection in the cheek, like a light. So I, you know, squint and look at it, and I have, or my grandparents had a trampoline in the backyard. And when I'm squinting, I've noticed the outline of the trampoline. So then I start like looking all around, and I mean, you can see through the face, you can see through it. So that that's not person, maybe like that shouldn't be there. And it just had the eyes of it. I could tell it was following me because I was like moving around to see what it was doing. I could tell it was following me, but the eyes were like sunken in. I don't know. Maybe it was just like a feeling or something. And so I told my friend, I was like, hey, you see that? And he looked and he was like, the window? And I was like, no, dummy, the scary face in the window. He was like, no, I don't see anything. And so at that point, you know, I'm thinking maybe it's something on the floor that's reflecting off the window and making it just like an illusion. Well, then the tongue is moving, though. Like there's no way. I don't know what it was. And every time I tell people, you know, it's when I try to describe it, I've said like the ghost face-esque mask, the venom tongue, the sharp teeth. Everybody's like, he's just taking stuff from scary movies and putting it together to try to make up a story. And I swear I'm not. I swear I saw it. That one most people don't believe me on, but it's fine. I don't care. That's what really, seeing that is what really got me, because everybody was asleep. It's probably like 2 a.m. So I went to look, see if my grandparents were asleep. They're asleep. It's a small country town, so the closest neighbor is like a mile away. That'd just be super weird for a neighbor to trek a mile to scare some kids. So that just didn't track for me.
Did you ever speak to your grandparents about it? Like, have they ever had any experiences in their home? Or
so I never have, just because they're my grandfather's real like old school, doesn't believe in anything that he can't see, taste, smell kind of guy. My grandmother's a little more spiritual, but I just never brought it up to her. But I did bring this up. So my grandmother owned a daycare, and that's where I met this friend. I wish I could remember his name. Just maybe if he heard this podcast, he'd be like, oh yeah, I remember this kid freaking out. Anyway, I asked my grandma, because he didn't show up to the daycare after that. Never saw him again. And we were pretty good friends. So I asked my grandma, I was like, hey, what happened to so-and-so? She's like, who? So-and-so. Who are you talking about? My friend who was at the house with us last week. She was like, I have no clue who you're talking about. To this day, doesn't know who I'm talking about. So I don't know if there's no way.
Let's rewind. So this kid that was at your grandparents' house, like the night before or whatever, you were playing with his, Nintendo DSs. He had 2 of them. This kid used to go to your nursery, and for however long you remember, you were friends with this kid.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, after that night, your grandma has no recollection of this child that was at her house.
Never heard of him. Never heard of him.
Dude, how'd you explain that one?
I tried to, like I sat there, I'm like, maybe I legitimately did have like an imaginary friend, but I never had any Nintendo DSs. That wasn't fake. That wasn't imaginary.
Wow. Or maybe you're in some kind of MK Ultra program.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Who knows? I got some pretty trippy stuff, so maybe.
That's weird, man. I have no words. Like, what?
Yeah. I've even asked my mom, who knew him, just like she also worked at daycare, so she knew most of the kids. She was like, yeah, I don't know who you're talking about. And with her, I was able to like open up more and be like, hey, what do you mean? What do you mean you don't know who that is? And she was like, I promise I don't know who that is. So like no one that I've talked to about it knows who that was.
So it's legit, like they're not trying to like, you could read their body language, right? They're not trying to pull the wool over your eyes.
Yeah.
They're literally like, dude, you're crazy.
Yep. I mean, I read them as best I could as a 12-year-old, but I can't explain that one. I really can't.
Man, so
it was wild.
So why do you think this, whatever you saw, this apparition with the tongue and the teeth, why do you think you could see it, but not this long gone friend?
I mean, I've actually thought about that. So I sent that story. I sent a lot of my stories into Emma so she could read them on the podcast. When I sent that to her, I really started thinking about it. That's when it like really clicked me. Like the weirdest part of that story wasn't the whatever face I saw. It was the fact that no one knew who that kid was. So that's when I really started thinking about it. I've gone down a couple different roads. If it was an imaginary friend, you want to call it that, and I was just imagining it, that would make sense of why he couldn't see it, because he wasn't real. But it just, I don't know, man. There's too much stuff, because like we both interacted with my grandparents. Like we went to eat. They bought both of us food. Like there's too much stuff to where it's imaginary. So I think the reason he couldn't see it is maybe he wasn't as in tune. I feel like a lot of people don't see stuff. Maybe they don't want to. Maybe they're scared to, or they just have no interest and they can't see stuff that some people can. That's going to make me sound like I'm saying I'm like the kid from The Sixth Sense, and I'm not, but it just, I don't know. That's my best theory, is just he just wasn't as tuned at that moment as I was to seeing something paranormal.
I mean, I'm sitting here left with so many questions. So I can't imagine how you must be feeling. Like,
yeah, it's wild.
Your whole life is like, that just doesn't make sense.
Nope. Trust me, man. I've asked. No one has any answers. Well, they do have an answer. It's, I don't know who you're talking about, or I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Have you ever tried speaking to like some kind of clairvoyant or medium about this situation?
I haven't, and that's not something I've ever really, until I got into real life ghost stories, I've never really wanted to. But now I've been hearing a lot of people's stories about it, and I want to. I really do. I'm in a very conservative area in Texas, so it's not many of those around here. There is a local palm reader that I've kind of thought about.
Yeah, I've got to say, man, so this is I'm just over 60 episodes in now, and a lot of the stories you hear are very similar, like similar things happen. But yours is very unique. Like I've never heard a story like that on my show. So yeah, it's cool. It's a good story, and I'm sure you've got many more to tell me. So
oh yeah, it's weird, man. The rest are pretty typical like ghost demon stories, but that one is by far the craziest, I guess most mind blowing, because there's no explanation. It's like that dude never existed. So I
And
don't.
that's one way for it to pique your interest in the paranormal, isn't it?
Oh yeah, that's exactly what it was. Ever since then, I want to know more. I want to see what I can see. That way, I guess the way it made sense to me was, if I have a collection of stories, this one will sound less crazy because a bunch of this stuff has happened to me. So I don't know. That blows my mind every day. Every time I think about it, I have no clue what that's about.
So before we go on to your next story, I'd love to know what your personal beliefs are when it comes to spirits or ghosts, or whatever it is you want to call them. What are they?
So I believe I'm definitely a Christian, so I believe God, heaven, hell, all that. I just don't think it's as simple as when you die, you immediately go to heaven or hell. I think there has to be like a waiting period, or maybe there's for the people who don't quite qualify to get straight in, they have to do stuff to maybe advance. I don't know. So they're just like stuck in maybe like a purgatory type place, just reliving or wreaking havoc. So I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's kind of hard to explain, I guess, but there's obviously a place where spirits go. There has to be. And I mean, they did tests where I want to say it was maybe the 50s. I could be wrong, but they measured a dead person, or they measured a person while they were still alive, or weighed them, and then they weighed them immediately after death, and it was like they weighed I think it was 3 ounces less or something like that.
Hmm.
So they said that's proof that the soul left the body.
That's maybe where the term, your soul is heavy.
Yeah,
Maybe that's where
yeah,
it comes
maybe,
from.
maybe.
Mm.
I just think there has to be some sort of waiting room, because I do believe people go to heaven. I do believe people go to hell. I just think there has to be some sort of in between.
I have pretty much similar beliefs, but for me, I'm not. I'm still looking for answers, I guess, and I guess that's part of the reason why I do this podcast. So I'm a very open-minded person, but I'm not religious. But at that same time, I still have faith. I have faith that there is a higher power, whether that higher power is us, whether that's inside us, or whether that is a god, a being, whether it's the universe, whatever it is. Yeah, but I have similar beliefs. I believe in the core, in good and evil. So yeah, it's hard to get my head around what I actually believe, because I don't class myself as a religious person, but I really do believe in good and evil. So I don't know how them two worlds kind of collide for me. But yeah,
it's hard to express, I guess, your beliefs. It's hard to put the words to it. So it's kind of like when you ask that question, I was like, I know exactly what I want to say, or I know what my answer is, but I can't figure out how to say it. So pardon all the ums.
right, man. Hit me with your next story, because these are great.
So years later, probably 4 or 5 years later, we're living in a different town, and it's your typical stormy, spooky night. Lightning, thunder, house is shaking because of the thunder, skies lighting up because of the lightning. And we lived in a mobile home, so the floor is real like creaky when you walk on it, right in front of my bedroom door. My little sister at this time is, I think, about 3 to 4 years old, possibly, and she has her own room. A lot of the times, little kids, they'll go sleep with the parents or whatever, and I hear her. I'm still awake at this point, because I can't. It doesn't have to be silent when I sleep by any means, but just extremely loud thunder kind of keeps me up a little bit. But I hear her open her door. And so I'm laying there and not thinking a whole lot of it. She starts walking down towards my room instead of away from it. And I get the bright idea as a big brother, I'm going to scare the absolute mess out of this child. So I put the covers over my head and I'm creeping back and I'm getting ready to pounce like as soon as she opens the door and the floorboards creak. So let me kind of explain that in just a quick second. When the floorboards creak, you're pretty much in the threshold of the door. So like I will be able to see you. So the floorboards creak. I spring the trap. I jump out and I start yelling, but then when no one's there, I quickly quit and I'm just looking around like maybe she got scared and fell on the floor or something. So I'm just looking around. No one's there. No one's there. I heard I heard the footsteps, heard the floorboard creak. When I jumped, no one was there. So that was weird. And I'm like, okay, maybe it's just the thunder shaking the house. I don't know. I'm trying to give it an excuse. So I lay back down and I have a stereo system and all of a sudden it turns on full blast, just white noise static. Scared the ever loving crap out of me. I jump, threw the covers off, panicking, just staring, like looking around the room. What's going on? I go to turn the stereo off. I'm clicking the power button. Nothing's happening. Swear to God, I unplug it. Still blasting music, or it's not music, but it's the white noise or the static. I can't get it to turn off. So I pick it up. I'm ready to break it. Maybe that'll switch it off. And my mom comes banging through the door, yelling at me, "What are you doing? It's 1 a.m. Go to bed." She had work the next morning, something, I don't know. But I was like, I didn't do it. I swear. I was just laying there. Didn't believe me. I got in trouble. So thanks a lot for that one, Ghost. And that was really it for that. Well, that's when I was like, okay, now I'm old enough. I'm not going to get scared. I want to know what that was. So I'm going to start recording stuff at night. So I got some friends that came over and we set up, I think it was like when the iPhones first came out or the iPod touches, you know what I'm talking about. But I had one of those and I started recording, set it in the middle of the living room, and me and two of my buddies sat there and asked a bunch of questions. I think it recorded like 6 hours of us just asking questions. And we got one response. And my friend is doing something and he walks over to me and the iPod touch lights up, and at the time my background was like a picture of a lion or something. And he goes, "Oh, that's a cool background. I like that." And I was like, "Oh, thanks." And we continued to ask our questions. But when we got to that point in the recording, you can hear him say, "Oh, that's a cool picture. I like that." You can hear me go, "Thanks." And it's about 2 seconds of quiet. And then you hear a woman's voice. I don't know. It's, can you cuss on yours, or are you going to get in trouble?
Sure, man.
Okay.
No, go for it.
It's a quote, so it's not me. You can hear a woman's voice go, "Yeah, that's fucking cool." That's the only time we caught anything, and it was clearly a woman's voice. We're teenagers, so we don't have the deepest voices, but we definitely don't sound like women. It legitimately sounded like a 30-year-old woman. It was weird.
There's a spirit just taking the mick out of you.
Yeah, like making fun of my lion background or something. I don't know. But so that's when I was like, okay, there's clearly something here. I'm going to start paying attention to it. So for the rest of the time I lived there, it was doors being open when I know I shut them, or you'd hear footsteps when no one's there. One time I came back from school and my room was just trashed. Like somebody went through it. No one who was there claimed to have done it. I can't say that one was for sure paranormal just because I wasn't there, but everybody who was there said they didn't do it. So that's weird. Moved again to live with some other family that I hadn't really known. And then she was my stepmom at the time. You know, we would always talk about like ghost stories and stuff. We'd watch a scary movie or something and end up talking about ghost stories. And she asked if I'd ever tried a Ouija board. I was like, nope, always wanted to. So she got me a Ouija board and started messing with that. And nothing ever really happened. Like the planchette never really moved for me. But me and my little brother started playing one time and we asked if anybody's here. The planchette didn't move. And we said, or my little brother said he started like feeling real cold. And we were in a garage in Texas in the summer. No reason to feel cold. He said he started feeling real cold. So we asked it, if you're here, or told it, if you're here, let us know. And a shelf from in the garage somewhere, a shelf just fell over. A big heavy shelf that had been there for years, stationary, packed with stuff, never moved, fell over. So we quit. We quit messing with that because that scared us. We were in the dark, by the way. We had all the lights off, so we couldn't see anything. I don't know why we thought that was best, but we did. And we went through with it, dang it. And that shelf fell and it scared us, so we quit playing. And ever since then, doors would lock like randomly throughout the house. So I'd be trying to leave a room, and you can only at that house you can only lock the doors from the outside of whatever room. And I got locked in the room several times. I had to miss a shift at work one time because I was locked in, no windows. I legitimately could not get out. I had to wait for somebody to come get off work to come let me out. Stuff like that. And
how do you explain that one to your boss? Seriously, the ghost locked me in.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I just told him I wasn't feeling good, but I don't think that one would have gone over very well.
So was it the rest of your family also experiencing things in that house?
It was just me and my two little brothers. So no one else. My youngest sister, she would experience the locking, but she never really said anything about it. I know she experienced it because she tried to go into the room one time and it was locked and she came in. Why'd y'all lock the door? We didn't. Why would we lock the door? So, that's about the extent I know for that. With me and my little brother, we both were pretty interested in the ghost stuff. So we did a lot of that together. I think it just liked me better because he doesn't have any of the stories that I have.
Yeah, like what you were saying at the start about like people being in tune. Like the way I like to think about it is kind of like, it's like radio frequencies, and if we're only tuned into certain frequencies, whereas some people are just slightly tuned to the right or slightly tuned to the left, and there's a different field of vision, or I totally see why these things could just be happening to one person. And they also say how kids are so susceptible, and as you grow older you lose that sixth sense. Or
he would experience things while it was going on, but he wouldn't get, like, for me, most of the time, I feel like I'm being watched, especially at that time. Like, I just always constantly felt like I had eyes on me, and it was super discomforting. And one time, I was trying to go to work, and it's always makes the situation so much worse when your friendly animal picks up on something, because then you realize, like, oh, it's not just me. That animal is also picking up on this. I was getting ready for work, and I had two dogs. I had a weenie dog and then just like a bigger mutt dog. I'm getting dressed, and the little weenie dog, I don't know if you're familiar with weenie dogs when they play, but I don't know why I said it like that. All dogs get like this when they play, but they'll start jumping to the side, like they'll see something and start jumping. Well, he started doing that, and then he walked up to the threshold of the door, yelped, and ran back. The big dog stood up and it's her hair like got the mohawk down her back, showing her teeth. I've never seen her aggressive in any way, shape, or form. Started showing her teeth, even started drooling a little bit like a wild animal, and was just dead focused on something, staring right down the hallway into the darkness of the hallway. And so at that point I was like, yep, time to go to work. So I left them there to deal with that. That was their problem. Um, just a bunch of little stuff like that happened a lot. And then it started getting more intense when we played, me, my little brother, one of my friends played, oh, and then my friend's girlfriend, I'm sorry. We played with a Ouija board in a cemetery, and, asking it questions. And that's when the planchette moved for the first time. First time I'd ever experienced it. And, we asked it questions. It would answer, and we'd be like, oh, this is creepy. You better not be moving it, kind of thing. And then we got to the a little bit more serious questions like, are you bad? And it went to no a couple times. And my little brother asked it again, are you evil? And it went to yes. So we were like, okay, that's weird. Well, my friend did not play because his mom is super religious and he was afraid of getting in trouble. But his girlfriend played, and she asked, "What do you want?" And it spelled out death on the Ouija board. So at that point, we were like, "Yeah, it's probably a good time to pack it up." So apparently, I didn't know this, but there's a certain way you have to like cut off the connection with the Ouija board. I didn't know that at the time, so we just like took our hands off and went. And so I do. I mean, I don't know, but I think that could be like maybe why it attached itself to me. Maybe I was the last one with my hands on the board or something. I don't know. Um, but after that time, it started getting a little bit more it died off for a while, but when it came back with a vengeance. I had my own apartment. I had my own apartment, and I had a black cat. The black cat's name was T'Challa. And we always had this bedtime routine, brush our teeth, take contacts out. He would do his business in the litter box, and we'd go to bed. Well, one time we were in it. That might sound super trivial, but he never strayed from that schedule. So the one time he did, while I was brushing my teeth, he wasn't sitting there staring at me brushing my teeth. He walked off into the bedroom and was just like sitting there looking kind of like halfway up at the door, and started like pawing at something. That was weird to me. And that was it for then. And I went to work the next day. I came back and I couldn't find the cat anywhere. I thought maybe somebody had come in from the office because it was an apartment complex. I thought somebody had come in from the office to do maintenance or something and maybe let him out. I went around, asked the neighbors, went to the office. The office said they were never in the apartment. The neighbors were like, no, we don't know her. We don't know. We haven't seen anything. So I went inside, started looking at other places. I hear a faint meow, like super faint, almost missed it. And I start paying attention over here, and I hear it's getting louder. And I look in the cabinet where I think it's coming from. Nothing there. I reach in, I like push the back off the cabinet to see if it's maybe like behind the set of cabinets as a whole. Not there. I stand up and I hear like a scratching, and as well as the meows. And I focus in on where the noise is coming from, and I'm staring at a microwave. I'm like, there's no way this cat is in the microwave. Sure enough, open the microwave. The cat is in the microwave. I don't know how long the cat had been in the microwave. It was there for at least 2 hours because that's how long I was looking. Don't know how it. I'll give the cat the benefit of the doubt and say that maybe it could open the microwave because it was just one of those push buttons to open it.
The cat with thumbs.
Yeah, like it's still super unreasonable, but I'll give the doubters the benefit of the doubt. Say maybe the cat opened it. No way on this planet that the cat is shutting itself in the microwave. No way.
Man, it's funny you say that about the cat because, and again, one of my good friends, he was on the podcast. It's about episode 46, I believe. He was on the podcast. It's tailor made the episode if you want to find it. He did a Ouija board, and it's same situation. This is actually something happened with a cat before the Ouija board situation. But yeah, it's like I was saying at the beginning. You know, people have similar experiences.
Yeah.
Like just what you were explaining. Like my friend basically had a cat go through a window, and he was also involved in some Ouija board stuff. So yeah, man, it's crazy, and it does sound like you may have opened yourself up to something. I mean, I'm no expert, but I could see on your face when you started telling that story, man, that is, you know, it's hard for you to talk about. It's heavy.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know, man, but I'd recommend seeking some kind of seek the light, man.
Yeah. So after that one, after the cat was in the microwave, that's when it really started feeling malicious. I woke up, or I did not mean to say that. I was going to bed, and I started noticing something out of the corner of my eye. I'm laying down. It's obviously it's nighttime, so it's dark, and the closet door just kind of slightly opens. And with that door, the carpet is higher than the door, so you actually have to push the door with some force to be able to open it because it drags on that carpet. So I see it open, and I'm like, that shouldn't be happening. But I'm trying to go to bed, so I'm playing it off like I was the cat because the cat wasn't laying with me like it usually did. The cat opened the door. That's fine. I'll go to bed still. Well, the cat comes, jumps on my chest, and 5 minutes later, the door shuts. I hear it click. Like, yeah, that one wasn't the cat. And so I'm sitting there kind of freaking out a little bit. Not too bad, but just enough. And once again, the door opens, but this time it opens very aggressively and very fast, and it hits the wall. And so at that point, I'm like, oh my God. And I still do have work pretty early in the morning. So I'm like, it's fine. You're a big boy. You can handle it. Go to bed. So I close my eyes and immediately see something. Just my mind is making it up, but I immediately see something just over me trying to get me, you know? So I have to open my eyes. I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta let this feeling die down. So I'm sitting there just staring at the ceiling, and I see a dark shadow move across. You know how you can see something darker than dark? That makes sense. Well, I can see it go across the roof, and I'm like, oh boy. So that's not good. And I start at, like, as soon as I saw it, I felt just a bunch of tension. Like when two people are mad at each other in a room, you could just feel that tension. That's what it felt like. And I'd always slept with a Bible next to my bed just because I did. Like I said, I'm religious. So sometimes I read it. Most of the time it was just sitting there. But I went to grab it, say a prayer, help me go to sleep. And as soon as I grabbed it, is just like that tension that was already there amplified by 20. Just, I felt like I was about to get into a fight. It was ridiculous. And so naturally, in self-preservation mode, I throw the blankets over myself because they can't get you if you're under the blankets. And I feel it's like something is touching my shin. And the cat is right here. So I know it's not the cat. It's something is grabbing my shin right now, and it hurt. It wasn't like a super big, super painful feeling or anything, but something was grabbing me kind of tight. So I freaked out, jumped out of bed. I left like I did with those dogs. It was the cat's problem. I left the cat in there. I went and slept in my car. That was the second most intense thing I've ever felt. Um, it's honestly, it's hard to describe how that felt to be touched by something that was not there. Me and shortly after that, I was telling my little brother, his mom worked at this church, and the fourth floor is haunted, allegedly. So we go to the fourth floor because I started telling him that story, and he was like, "Ooh, now I'm in the mood to look for ghosts." So we went to push our luck. Um, we went to the fourth floor, and we're recording, and there's like this cutout. It's almost just like a big window, but there's nothing there. It's like they were trying to put a big window there, um, but they never finished the job, if that makes sense. They just got the cutout for it. But so you can see into the attic, and it's dark. There's no lights up there. There's one window, but it's way across the room. And we're looking through the phone, and I'm not a huge orb guy, but in the phone, I could see a couple of them, and I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I believe in those, but that was weird. And I'm zooming through, and my little brother's like, I don't see anything, and you can hear a train go off in the background of the video because we're by a train track, and I see something. It's like somebody standing there. I see the it's the darker than dark shadow again. So I think it was the same thing. Um, it's just like standing there. I see shoulders. I see outline of a shoulders and a head. And so I tell my little brother, I was like, "You see that?" He's like, "No, what?" And I was like, "Look right there." And I point to it, and he's like, "I don't see anything." I'm like, "It's like something standing there. There's like shoulders out of the darkness comes this gut curdling scream, just a full out scream. Oh, I got goosebumps just kind of thinking about it. But so we take off. We had the video for the longest, but we moved so many times that we just ended up losing that phone, which is very unfortunate. But we went back and we tried to make any reason of why what we heard isn't actually what we heard. Every possible solution, it didn't fit. It didn't work. None of it happened. Something had enough energy to scream at us. Terrifying. So after that, he was like, "Yeah, I don't like this. I don't want to mess with this stuff anymore." And he never had any other problems with it. A little bit later, I started having these dreams that were just awful, like nightmare night. Well, I guess yeah, they were nightmares. They're bad nightmares. Well, in one of them, I was having this party. The party finished, and I was cleaning up, and I was on the phone with somebody, and the lights started flickering in this dream house. The lights upstairs started flickering, and on the phone call, I'm like, "Oh, it's just the ghosts messing around, but they should know I'm not scared of them." Whatever, and being big and bad in a dream. And from upstairs, it was the same voice that yelled at us, that screamed at us, and it said, "You effing should be." And it was just like this deep, just demonic. Like when you picture demonic voice, that's what it sounded like. And it was a nightmare. So I woke up pretty scared, startled, I guess. But at the end of the day, I was like, it's a nightmare. I'm fine. Well, the next night, I had before I went to bed, I had a staircase, and I was sitting there watching TV, and I could see the staircase out of the corner of my eye. And I saw somebody. I didn't hear anything, but I saw somebody run up the stairs. Didn't hear any footsteps, anything like that. And it was just like a black let that sounds bad. Just like a black figure running up the stairs. It was close to bedtime, so I was like, nah, nope, nah, didn't happen. Go to bed. I have this another nightmare. I don't really remember most of it, but I remember at the end of this nightmare, there is like this mist almost and it's just I'm just looking at it, and it's looking at me, and there's that same tension. I remember this very vividly. The same tension that I felt when I was laying in bed and I grabbed that Bible from that other story. It was that same tension, and for whatever reason, I got really mad in the dream, and I started like, "Bring it on," like challenging it. And so in the dream, we run at each other, or it flies, whatever, and we meet head on. And in the dream, it forms with me, and I wake up, and my friend is trying to wake me up. He's like, when I finally like open my eyes, he's like, "Dude, are you all right?" Like, I don't know what's going on. I'm terrified from that dream. I kind of like I start coming to, realized I'm drenched in sweat. I'm covered in sweat, ridiculous. Like it was 100 degrees in that house. And I'm like, "What's going on?" He's like, "You were like screaming. You've been screaming for the past like 20 minutes." And ever since then, or not ever since then, but for probably a good 2 months solid after that, I was so angry at everything, at everyone, the smallest inconvenience. Like I hit my lock button on my phone when I didn't mean to. I would throw the phone. I was so angry, and I didn't really know why. And I started praying one time, like, "Please help me get rid of some of this anger." And as soon as I said, "Dear God," like to the intro to the prayer, I started feeling like sick. It was wild. So I didn't end up saying that prayer. That got the best of me. Didn't say it. Um, and so I kind of look back on that and realize like, what if that wasn't just a dream? Like, what if I was, or that mist fused with me? What if that was something going on like mentally? Like, what if that was me mentally trying to fight off a demon or something, trying to possess me? And saying that out loud, every time I say it, it sounds kind of goofy, but I can't explain how angry I was at everything all the time. I didn't have any self control. I wanted to hit everything, everybody, and that's not at all who I am. Um, so I said one night before bed, I said a prayer, and again, right when I said the intro, I started feeling sick, but continued through, got through it. Had to go to the bathroom because I did throw up after I got done saying that prayer. Um, Went to sleep, and this dream I had, I don't remember it as well, but it was basically me fighting a mist. But this time the mist was different. It was like a head, and it had like some like Darth Maul. Are you a Star Wars guy?
Not really, mate. No.
No. Oh, okay, never mind. Well, it had horns all around its head,
I know.
almost like
I
a
know what he
crown.
looks like, Darth Maul.
Oh, okay. Okay. Good. So it was like that. Um, and it had just like red eyes. I couldn't make out any other features but that. And so this whole dream, we're fighting. And at the end of the dream, neither one of us can beat the other. At the end of the dream, I just we stop, and I say, "I'm in control. Leave now." Woke up the next morning. I mean, I felt 20 pounds lighter. Like I don't know what it was. I just felt good. I wasn't sick. I wasn't angry. I got up, and it was a Monday, and I was like, "It's going to be a beautiful day." I mean, I just felt so much lighter. So I can hear people say whatever they want to say. I truly think I fought off a possession in that point.
I absolutely agree with you, dude. I actually interviewed an exorcist. That was episode 33, Alabar Jones. Go and check it out, man, because I think you'll get a lot from that. But it sounds like what you were doing is astral projecting and literally fighting these demons or spirits in this other realm. Yeah,
Got goosebumps.
dude. Yeah, same, man. I've got them right now, just from everything you're saying. seriously check out that episode because I think, I think things will start to make a lot of sense for you.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. And then it was a long. This is the end of it. I promise. It was a long break. Probably another 5 years or so where nothing happened. Nothing out of the ordinary. Nothing paranormal. I didn't feel people watching me. I got angry at normal stuff, and I moved to a different town where I ended up meeting my now wife, and we're nothing. I think it was just something simple, like maybe we heard a noise, and I was like, "Oh, paranormal," and it maybe just thinking that kind of brought it all flooding back. Maybe it was a mind thing, but that night I went to bed and I had a dream. I was running through a forest, and I was getting chased by this dinosaur. I knew it was a dinosaur, but I couldn't see it. And I lose the dinosaur, and I'm just sitting there, kind of like looking around at the vast forest. And it was that same voice that said, "You effing should be," that I heard all those years ago, out of the woods, out in the middle of nowhere in a forest. That voice came out and says, "Finally, I found you." And ever since then, my wife doesn't want to hear it because she gets scared easy, but there's been a lot of abnormal stuff that shouldn't be happening that's been happening. It's nothing crazy. It's just like stuff falling over or anything like that. But we took the craziest one is we took a picture. It was supposed to be just like a picture of her in the kitchen, and she was maybe 5 feet in front of me. And it was one of those Polaroid cameras. And I pull out the film, it develops, and it's super like blurry. Just it looks like it took a picture of somebody, like if this were the camera, it looks like it took a picture of somebody like that close. So just super blurry. But in that picture, it legitimately looks like Hagrid from Harry Potter. So now now that I've put a face to our ghost, I've named it Leroy for whatever reason.
And we've gone full circle. Your story started with Harry Potter and finishes with Harry Potter.
I actually never thought of that. That's insane. That's cool. That's a good connection. I like that. I've never thought of that.
Well, Jared, brother, after this conversation, I think you need to go and have a bath in holy water.
Right?
My only explanation for all the cat stuff as well is that your cat got radioactive powers from the microwave.
That would be pretty cool. That would explain a lot of the strength, opening the door and
explains the lasers coming out of his eyes.
Yep, that's it.
Oh man,
I just thought it made him dumb, but
Your ghost stories. Your ghost stories.
I'm excited to go and check out your podcast. Just remind everyone what that's called.
Yeah, it's a Spectacularly Average Podcast.
Awesome. And like I said, yeah, there's going to be links. So, go check it out, everyone. Well, dude, thanks so much for your time. Thanks for coming on and being willing to share your awesome stories. Like, they've been some of my favorites since I've started this podcast.
Heck yeah, man. Thanks for having me. This was my first one, so hopefully I didn't blabber too much or anything like that. But I've enjoyed it. It's been really fun. If for whatever reason you like the podcast and you want to come on to ours, let's do it.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I'll be up for it.
Yeah, I can't promise it's going to be super fun. I don't know. We'll think of some questions to ask and whatnot, but
yeah, I mean, I've got quite a lot of my own experiences as well, man. So
heck yeah,
happy to come and talk about them.
Heck yeah, that'd be awesome, man. Well, thanks again, dude. I really appreciate it.
It's been awesome, man. Yeah, thank you, and have a great evening, dude.
You too, brother.
All right, catch you soon, mate. Bye.
Bye.